You think I would help a woman who branded me a war criminal? Of course I'll do it. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Eternity Cage, written by Andrew Smith. This is the second story in the third War Doctor box set, Agents of Chaos. And this one is a very notable release in the War Doctor series, as not only does it feature the Doctor's most iconic enemies, the Daleks, but also the Sontarans. And for those of you who don't really know, Big Finish actually has a track record of teaming up Daleks, or at least having them in the same story, Daleks and Sontarans. This is not even the first time they've appeared together in a box set. I believe in one of the Dark Eyes box sets, they've appeared together. They've appeared together in The Five Companions, a companion piece set during the time of the Five Doctors. And they've each also had like cameos and scenes in each other's stories. So it's not particularly original in that sense. However, to hear John Hurt's Doctor interact with Sontarans is something which every fan needs to listen to. And it has the return of Dan Starkey. Now, a lot of New Who stories that mentions Sontarans in the Time War implied that the Sontarans were never involved in a Time War. So that was a big question marks over this story. But it does still kind of make sense. But yeah, and it's actually a really fun little adventure. I'll get more into detail about it when I go into the story. So here's the cover with John Hurt there looking cool. I like how he's a bit more down to level on this one. We've got a Sontaran here. This is actually supposed to be the main Sontaran of the story, which is really odd because they use a photo of Christopher Ryan's Sontaran. However, it's Dan Starkey. In fact, Christopher Ryan's doesn't even make an appearance in this story, which I found really odd because John Hurt and Christopher Ryan's working off each other would have been bloody fantastic. But no, it's Dan Starkey's taken up the form of the General. I wonder if they even asked Christopher Ryan's to appear. And we also have Josh Bolt there playing a young street urchin from a particular planet. So that's the official Big Finish CD covers. And like always, I make my own DVD cover. This one I've taken from the I've taken the image anyway, this bit from the trailer for the Agents of Chaos box set, and I put it all together. It looks alright. The landscape of it fits very well on a DVD case. I wish I could have been done a little bit better myself if I decided to do it from scratch. Here's the spine, if anyone's interested, with John Hurt there. Look at me, I'm peeking through you from a circle. The Doctor Who logo circle. If you want to enjoy Doctor Who, you better get my box sets and print out DVD covers like McEdam here. Yes, this is John Hurt. I've come back to life just to give you this message. Sorry about that. That was really terrible, cringeworthy, and overall just really, really weird of me. I do apologise. Anyway, and here's the back, which kind of gives it away that it's one of mine that I put together. So we've looked at the covers, we looked at behind the scenes, we've acknowledged that The Sontarans are back, so let's go into the story. So the story picks up right after from when the last story, the Shadow Vortex, left off, with the Doctor learning that Illustria has been kidnapped. So he goes back to Gallifrey to pick up some more information about it. And then it turns out, surprisingly, that the Sontarans have kidnapped her in a vain hope that they can make an alliance with the Time Lords. They kidnapped the Time Lord to try and convince them to become allies. Sontaran strategy 101, people. It actually makes a lot of sense when you counter in what a Sontaran is. They think of military tactics and things as well. Now, a lot of people are surprised. I mean, in the story now, not like in real life. A lot of people, including the Doctor, is surprised to learn that the Sontarans even had the capability to capture a Time Lord. Everything they know about Sontarans is that they don't have the mental capacity to join a time war. In fact, they're one of the races that even the Daleks want to ally themselves, because the Daleks found the Sontarans to be so ridiculously minuscule compared to their involvement in the Time War that they'll just be more of a hindrance. However, a Sontaran, specifically a Commander Fisk, has captured Illustria and has sent a signal to the Time Lord saying that he will negotiate his capture for her capture for an alliance with the Time Lords. However, he has also sent a message to the Daleks saying if they get there before the Time Lords, then he will then give the prisoner to the Daleks in a vain hope to make an alliance with the Daleks. Both sides, Daleks and Time Lords, don't want to work with the Sontarans, and but each side isn't sure that one will work with the other. So it's basically, it starts off, it's very strange because we get introduced to a small group of Sontarans, Time Lord soldiers, which the Doctor becomes the leader of. There's a great scene at the start which reminds me a lot of William Hartnell, in which the Doctor just takes command. There's a bit where he's giving one of the soldiers instructions. It's like, we can't land there on TARDIS, we need to have a civilian ship and pretend to crash land on the planet. And the soldier is like, if you think you're taking command, and the Doctor goes, I don't think, I am taking the command. Now do what I say. John Hurt just absolutely nails this aspect of the Time Lord, of the Doctor. And it seems like the story has a pretty set up from there. The Daleks and the Time Lords are on a race to try and get to Illustria and the Sontarans before each other. However, when the Time Lords arrive, it turns out there's already a fleet of Daleks over the planet, and they are just firing everything they have at the Sontarans, just because they just don't want to ally themselves. They just want to murder as many Sontarans as possible and take their captive. But surprisingly, the Sontarans are holding up pretty well against Daleks, and the Doctor is completely amazed by this. The Sontarans are good soldiers, but to get up against time strategist, the time strategist Dalek and his science division, his Armada, is unprecedented. Something has happened which has allowed Sontarans to become a formidable foe in the Time War. Before, they were basically nothing, and now they are somehow strong enough to be to actually be involved in some sort of the Time War. And it even gets to a point where Commander Fisk contacts the time strategist Dalek and says, we need to meet face to face. Don't worry, bring as many guards and Daleks as much as you want. I'll come in. And when the time strategist arrives on this planet, I believe it's called Rovalan. When the time strategist arrives, not only does he find Commander Fisk, but he finds him ungunned, no weapons, and not even any guard. It's just him. And this is, and they have like a discussion, which goes kind of how we expect with the Daleks, like, you have nothing to offer us, really. We're going to kill you. We're going to take you prisoner. There's nothing you can do. Then all of a sudden, the Daleks around the time strategist starts blowing up and destroying and stuff. And even the time strategist is just like, what the hell? How is the Sontarans suddenly become so powerful? And we probably get one of the most interesting scenes in this story. Commander Fisk captures the time strategist, takes away his weapons, and puts him in a prison with Olistria, the two leading figures of each side of the war, in a room with no power, no weapons, just have the ability to talk and I say discuss, but like, to discuss the Time War, essentially. This is just a fascinating scene, especially how the time strategist actually points out a contradiction when Olistria is like, Time Lords protect the timelines, and the Daleks and the time strategist is like, you are a hypocrite. You sent Time Lords went back in time to the creation of the Daleks and tried to kill them before they even existed, or at least alter their biology so that it would become less aggressive creatures. This is a reference to Genesis of the Daleks, confirming that was the first shot fired in the Time War. That was everything pre-Genesis of the Daleks is pre-Time War. Everything after that is during the Time War. And yeah, it's a really good point, and it's a really great thing. And but the conversation goes as you expect with the time strategist. It's like, no, we are the greatest, we are the superior beings, we will conquer you and destroy, become lords of times ourselves. And Olistria is just like, it's too bad. I could have hoped for a more civilized conversation with a Dalek, but oh well. And that's a really fun scene. So the Doctor and this small group of soldiers land on this planet, disguised as a crashed non-Time Lord ship, where they meet a street urchin named Kalen, who's this really, he's kind of innocent, but he's kind of got this like, he's a street urchin, didn't he? He basically wants something in return if he asks for it, and the Time Lord soldiers want nothing to do with him, believing that he could be a issue with their plan. But the Doctor allows him to be involved, saying that it's not up to the Time Lord, it's up to Kalen, to himself. Now, Kalen is very interesting. Well, I say interesting. He's a very fun character. There's not much of a character. Like, there's no like backstory, or we don't learn a lot. But he's just a fun character. The way he talks, the way he describes Sontarans as moonheads. I can't remember the tanks. I believe he calls the Daleks. And the fact that like he's clearly trying to bargain with them, but he doesn't really want money. At one point, he actually offers to help the Time Lords get to the Sontaran citadel, only if one of the soldiers stops calling him stupid names, and the Doctor's like, considered him, shut up. I really like that bit. And the Doctor seems to be getting some mental signals. He starts feeling this pain as he's having some sort of mental connection with somebody. They believe originally it's Alistria. However, we know it's not, because we've seen scenes with Alistria and she's not in any pain. So there's something coming, and there's something that could be involved with the Sontaran's plan. So they try going into the citadel, and when Kaelin goes in a different direction, make sure that one of the mountains they got to climb is safe. Do they get ambushed by Sontarans who shouldn't know that they are there, but do, and so there becomes this little conflict on who's the traitor. One of the Time Lord generals believes that it was Kaelin who sold them out, but the Doctor isn't quite sure. They later defeat the Sontarans, these particular batch of Sontarans, and they get up to the citadel, and they discover a secret room, a room which has an eternity cage in it. And the Doctor originally doesn't know what that is until Alistria, in prison, in handcuffs, and an unweaponed time strategist arrives with Fisk, leading them into the room. And Alistria basically explains what the eternity cage is. In a battle TARDIS, they're basically cells that put their prisoners in a sort of time cryogenic sleep until the prisoners can be put on trial. But this one Time Lord, his battle TARDIS crash landed on a planet full of Sontarans, and he was basically about to regenerate. And so what he did was he put himself in an eternity cage in the vain hopes that he'll survive and will be rescued by other Time Lords. However, he got caught when he went into cryogenics. It was right at the same time as his regenerating, leaving himself open wide with tons and tons and tons of Artron energy, the energy of the Time Lords, energy in which Sontarans used into their weapons, allowing them to have time-sensitive weapons. One of them shooting these time bubbles, which anything in the bubble ages to death. Very cool and very powerful. Now the Doctor gets has a mental connection again with this Time Lord. He's named, I can't remember his name, and it turns out that he's actually been given the Sontarans this energy on purpose because of the stuff they've done to him. He absolutely hates the Sontarans. He wants them to see them all destroyed. And so he came up with this plan that he would give them this energy source to a point where they could actually use it, because in reality, Sontarans shouldn't be able to harness Artron energy. And basically, he plans to power up the Sontarans to such an extent which they would be noticeable in the Time War, and then just cut all Artron energy, leaving them completely defenseless and allowing the Time War to just simply wipe them out. And here's where the story gets really good, in my opinion, and deals with the stuff which I love about the War Doctor and his ideology, with the ideas that we tackle throughout these box sets. The Doctor basically plans on actually going up against him at the start. Like he says, like, no, we can't just have this plan just like that. We can't just destroy all Sontarans. We have to give them a chance. We have to give them an opportunity to prove themselves and allow themselves to free themselves and survive in this universe. So the Doctor then returns back to reality, and they capture Commander Fisk after they've had after one of the Time Lord soldiers starts fighting with Fisk, and Fisk loses. And the Doctor gives him an alternative. Let Illustria and the time strategist back to the Time Lords and the Daleks, or he will destroy them. And the Time Lords are like, what? We have the Dalek time strategist here. Let them free Illustria, take the time strategist as our prisoner, and we would have the ultimate weapon against Dalek, an ultimate prisoner. But the Doctor points out that if the Daleks learned that they had prisoned the time strategist, then the Daleks would just wipe out the Sontarans. He wants to give them a chance to survive. He wants them so badly for some sort of peace. Even though these are Sontarans, one of his biggest, deadliest enemies, he still has hope that they themselves could sort out some sort of peace during this dark, miserable time. Fisk's answer? No, we will not reason with you. It turns out that Fisk's plan was actually to weaken both sides so they can become a third party in this war, in which the Sontarans can then become the rulers of time, which would just be absolutely hilarious if that. Somebody should make a what if the Sontarans won the Time War. That would be hilarious, in my opinion. Strax should easily be the Rassilon of Sontarans. Think about it. That would be really funny. And so the Doctor basically believed that he tried again to basically be the good man, but nobody lets him nobody takes up his offer, and so he just allows this Artron energy to basically annihilate this group of Sontarans, wiping them out from the timeline, essentially. At least these small group of Sontarans. And so that's basically the end of the narrative. We have this small little scene then in which Illustria and some of the guards escort Illustria to a battle TARDIS. However, when the Doctor comes back to try and follow them, one of the Time Lord soldiers, basically the general, the leader of the crew, if you don't count the Doctor, he was shot in the back. And when we get into the battle TARDIS, the female soldier, who I just realised I didn't talk about, she was just kind of like a background up until this point. She starts flying the TARDIS, not the Doctor's TARDIS, this is a battle TARDIS, and it appears right above the planet, right by Dalek's fire range. And it turns out she was the traitor all along. And this story ends on a cliffhanger with her kicking the Doctor out of the TARDIS as he falls to this planet. And that's the Eternity Cage. Overall, this was a lot of fun. just like the Shadow Vortex, it's a lot more lighter in terms of its themes that the War Doctor usually tackles. However, it still has that grandiose wartime feel, with this story is like a race against time with each side of the war infacted, trying to get to a particular location, and also with our characters trying to rescue on a rescue mission. It's a lot like old-time war films, which is one of the main themes of the War Doctor box set. And especially around the end, though they never really mention like the name of the Doctor, that he gave up his name and stuff, it does tackle the ideas of the name of the Doctor, with the Doctor basically, despite really he's done his absolute best, he has done what any Doctor would do, trying to reason, try to give him an alternative, but nobody lets him have the chance, and he blames himself. He personally takes up the responsibility as the one who destroyed the Sontarans, not taking into account that the Sontarans refused his help and refused his offer to survive. He blames himself still, and that is just such a fascinating aspect of the character. The first half is a lot of fun. Again, it's a lot more lighter. It's basically what I hope the Shadow Vortex was. A little lighter than most of the stories, but still having those elements that I really liked about the War Doctor box sets. So there you go, that's the Eternity Cage. So join me next time as we find out who this character is, and will the Doctor survive falling off a TARDIS, and how is he going to stop the Time Strategist? We'll find out next time. So join me next time for, I believe it's the Eye of Orion. So join me next time for the Eye of Orion, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!